So we can start this off. Ski Bum Podcast, episode 10. Finally hit double digits.
Nice.
It's the last one.
Big 10, baby.
Last one of 2024, probably. Until winter starts. But Ethan asked me if I wanted to get any more episodes done. And I was like, well, shit. I could talk to Dylan Hood. I've been wanting to for at least a year now.
Hell yeah.
Throwing your name out whenever I meet some people.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, sweet, man. Glad to do it.
Here we are.
My first podcast.
Nice.
My first interview podcast.
And we're here in my RV on the Oregon coast.
Yep.
Little old Nehalem.
Yep.
So, Dylan, it's crazy. I've met you through working for a bunch of other people. Blair, now Alex. And Blair's always brought your name up.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, oh, you gotta beat my buddy Dylan. Like, he's a skier. And I just never... My era of skiing, when I started really watching movies, was like 2008, maybe newer than that. So like I just missed your stuff. But after hearing like stuff from Blair and then meeting you here on the coast, obviously I looked up a bunch of videos.
Yeah.
Obviously it was sick. And then seeing you around some guys that I know, like John Collinson and Parker White, shit like that, I just was like, dang, I gotta like really do some history before I...
Yeah. Well, Blair had always told me about his nephew, right? Is your buddy?
Yeah, Derek.
Yeah, okay.
Derek.
So his nephew and his buddy would come out, and like you guys stayed on his boat one summer, right?
Yeah.
In the marina.
Yeah.
And he was always telling me about you guys, and it always sounded pretty epic. And then, sure enough, you migrated out to the coast, kind of like I did the same, you know. Came to Oregon to ski at Hood originally.
Sick.
And then lived in that zone, Hood River and Parkdale, for a while, and then started road tripping out to the beach, and then just fell in love with it out here. And pretty funny how you made it out here, and cool to have some young blood out here, and especially in the ski world. It's good to have you out here and dirt biking.
Sweet. Yeah, I appreciate it. We get into a bunch of things. We'll get into that towards the end, I bet. We'll probably just somewhat end up there, talking about motos and surfing.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get the backstory, because I'm sure younger kids than me don't know who Dylan Hood is, and it took me looking him up on YouTube to see some pretty insane backcountry stuff. So that's not something that I grew up watching from the East Coast. Just it was always rail edits and somewhat jump edits. Derek was way more of a jumper than I was.
Yep.
So, but then when I started watching your stuff, I was like, oh shoot, like Dylan was legit.
Well, thanks.
So where did you start skiing? Where are you from?
I grew up in Marblehead, Massachusetts, just north of Boston. Parents were skiers. And we were kind of weekend warriors up to New Hampshire.
Nice.
Learned how to ski at a little hill that doesn't exist anymore called King Ridge. And then grandparents lived close to that. And then Sunapee is another one right there.
Nice.
2 older brothers. Everyone skis, so I kind of just grew up just following my family around. Parents are both good skiers, brothers both great skiers. Started on the east, and then
chasing POW days, or doing parks and rails? And
no, just I didn't even know what powder was until Like I don't even remember, even like as a young kid, getting like a POW day. Like I don't even remember like struggling in POW, you know? Like, like it was always just like hard back and like little side hits through the trees. Eventually the snowboard parks started happening. Yeah. Which I remember going up the chairlift at Sugarloaf and not being like allowed in. Looking in and being like, no, we're not allowed in there. And I just remember being like, what? But I ended up going to Gould, which is in Bethel. So we skied at Sunday River. Oh, nice. And I went there for 3 years. And met Rory Will, who had already, like the season before, had a cover at Freeze, and he was kind of like he was like definitely a big deal on the East Coast and was like a rising East Coast kid. Yeah, like the Canadian Air Force had already, I think they were already out west, but they were all kind of East Coast Canadian dudes like JP, JF, Vincent Dorian.
You grew up in such a wild era of skiing.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, it was kind of like the beginning of like the twin tip, you know. It was when like, it was kind of when like, like the snowboard style skiing started to happen, because there was badass skiing happen. There was badass mogul skiers, obviously badass racers, badass like Alaska skiers, you know, big like Coombs and Schmidt and all those dudes, like. But that was so like untouchable being on the East Coast, you know. You're just like, you can't even like fathom a place or
we didn't even
a mountain
have
like that.
In my resort in Pennsylvania.
Totally. So you definitely, it was easy to gravitate. I'm sure same for you. Like, you watch the movies and you're like, oh, I could like maybe try to do that. Or you watch some Alaska peak and it's just like,
there's
fast forward. So that's kind of, so Rory kind of introduced me to Berman. He was going up to do like a shoot or something. I think they wanted to hit some rails, and we went up, we road tripped up over the border into Canada, and I think we're at Tremblant.
Sick.
And I got to meet like all those Canadians, which was like Scott Hibbert, Dave Crichton, Sarah Burke, Berman. I'm spacing a couple of the other dudes' names. And yeah, I thought Crichton was so cool. He had a do-rag on, and I was like, I can't rock that, but he's rocking it.
That's it.
But and then from there I kind of just like, I started winning some competitions on the East Coast, and I started to progress pretty quickly after that, just because I was just so fired up on it.
Yeah,
just was everything and anything I wanted to do was that. And won some competitions, got some like light sponsorship from like, you know, sponsorship is in like, Smith gave me a pair of goggles and a t-shirt.
Gotcha. And you wore that thing until it was holes and stuff like that, probably.
I actually didn't wear it because I always hated the kids who wore the big logos.
Gotcha.
It's like, yeah, great way to promote the product, dumbass. Like, I don't know, it was weird, but and then Vocal, I got like a buy one get one. Was my first kind of deal with those guys.
Oh, sick.
So like,
just starting out.
Bought a pair of skis, got one for free, and then kind of won a few big air competitions, because that was really big on the East Coast at the time.
What kind of tricks were you winning? The
one that was the one that I won anything with was it was like either a D-spin or a cork 9 tail grab.
Sick.
That was just my go-to. It was my competition trick. And it was big air, so it was just like one trick.
Yeah.
And we weren't allowed to go upside down.
Yeah. So that's why it was like D-spin.
Yeah, I think a proper D-spin would be upside down.
Yeah, because your head does go under.
Yeah. But yeah, weird East Coast, like, when the sport's starting. Super lame side note, like, whatever, I don't even know what the federation was. What was like, what's the big ski? It's probably the same one. What's the big ski federation? Anyways, you could qualify to get, so you could go like train and do like your 100 jumps in front of some judges or whatever and get let's say you wanted to do a backflip.
Mm-hmm.
You could go get your backflip qualified. You could go do this on your own and then go to one of these big air competitions, and that kid would be allowed to do a backflip, and the rest of the kids who could probably
weren't
do
certified,
weren't allowed to, and they could compete against them. So it was like it was just the infancy of.
Oh yeah, I remember when I was young in our home resort, you couldn't do inverts.
Yeah.
Like we'd throw them and have to like run to the parking lot to like switch our outfits.
Yeah.
Type of thing. Or we get our pass taken.
And then the corks start coming and and then it's like
was that upside down?
Right. And then you'd maybe do one that was more upside down than before, and anyways it was like, but I guess that's kind of a quick debrief on like the East Coast and where it kind of started.
Yeah. And then what was the biggest thing that happened, or like, because you got involved with TGR and Level 1 and you rode for Vocal and you had a few more sponsors, I'm sure, Marker and that, but like what was like the big, was it just the accumulating of early competitions and then they were like, hey, come film, or was it just a buddy thing, or just
so I think, let's see, I went out to college in Bozeman, Montana.
Oh, sick.
I went my whole freshman year. I went the whole year, and kind of like, I don't know, I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna do school, but I'm still gonna ski, and I don't know. I don't know what I guess I was just kind of like supposed to do school, so that's just what I did.
Yeah. And
that's kind of when I first really discovered powder, skiing at Bridger Bowl.
Yeah.
And then once I like found powder, it was like, oh yeah, I like, that was all I just wanted to learn how to ski powder and hit cliffs and like ski powder.
It just clicked that year or whatever. And
yeah, it was just kind of like the next thing. And anyways, my second year of college, I convinced my parents to let me take the winter off.
Nice.
So I went first semester, took the winter off second semester, and that's when I filmed my first like segment with Level 1.
Sick.
Which was in High Five was the name of that movie.
What year was that?
That would have been like 04 or 05, I think. And I was really proud of that segment. And my oldest brother was living in Jackson at the time, and he was friends with a lot of the TGR guys, and he had been living there for a little bit, and he was always kind of like in their ear being like, you gotta check out my brother, you gotta check out my brother. And I think they were like, yeah, cool, like, we'll check him out, whatever. And then I think when I put together that segment,
gotcha, High Five,
I think one of the dudes, Josh Nielsen, I think was kind of like went to bat for me or whatever, and kind of got on board with them. I got hooked up with the North Face that year.
Sick.
And I think I took the next winter off, and that was going to be my first year filming with TGR. That was Tangerine Dream, which was their 10th anniversary movie or something like that, I think. So that was kind of like how I guess I
just
slipped into that like scene. And I think Vocal was fired up after that High Five year. And so they were my only ski sponsor my whole career.
Sick.
And they definitely stood behind me, and I was able to do...
Seems like they try and stay with people for a long time.
Yeah, for sure. So that was everything. They were kind of one of the reasons I was able to...
So were you at the time, after you did the Level 1 and that kind of took off with getting like involved with TGR, did you, because I remember like early eras that people would have like parts in like three or four films a year.
Yeah.
Did you stay doing stuff with Level 1, or did you kind of just more focus?
I tried to, and at the same time, like I didn't even really know like what you're supposed to do.
You were kind of just like, I got invited to these trips, it was sick, like obviously we're filming, and you're good, you're doing D-spins and stuff.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, I feel like I just didn't even know what like what it took to make a part, and I know it's just like, yeah, keep going out, keep going on trips, keep building jumps, like keep hiking the jump, you know, like it'll all come if you just keep working hard. But but I also didn't want to just like, and I wanted to film with Berman and TGR. I don't know if I was necessarily good enough, like producing enough in that like A grade of a skier to make it happen, where some freak kids can. They just go out and get shots, you know. Like I wasn't necessarily that. And also didn't want to like just like leave like Berman hanging, because he had given me like a ton of opportunity, and gave me it. You know, we worked with each other, but it worked out. Like I had a sweet seg, and I think he liked it too. So it was weird. You know, it wasn't that weird, but it was just like I tried to do both, and it didn't work out terribly great.
Gotcha.
And I also found myself like...
Was it more like if you had, like, to get clips in their movie, you had to go with that filmer? Or, like, because I feel like, at least from what I've seen of, like, the older stuff, like, you would just stack a bunch of footage on, like, different trips, maybe different filmers as well, but then they would just go, oh, this is for this, and then this might be for that. I guess if you have enough tricks or whatnot.
Yeah, I think...
That are, like, keepers.
Yeah, I think, too, like, I feel like the movie... like landscape was changing, where it went from just, it probably might have been right in that same time zone, where it went from just like your personal segment, where like the movie was developing, into like trips, and there'd be group segments. And so like you could still be in a movie if it was a group segment, or it was just
and
like,
then you have like your individual part in another one or something.
Because I definitely didn't feel like I was going to have two full parts with the two companies.
Gotcha.
You know? It's just like, if I could have a few shots here and some shots there, but what were we talking about?
Just the early days of your skiing.
Yeah.
Level 1 and TGR.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. It was like, I also like, I found myself just like connecting with the TGR vibe a bit more than the level 1 vibe.
Well, I mean, you can kind of see where each of them went with their film. So, like, you being the powder hound you are, and level 1 is now basically like street with some PAL segments of like guys just getting older and going.
I think they were, you know, because they started East Coast. You know, they started on the East Coast, so it kind of started with Parks and Rails, and then they did go into way more backcountry stuff. I had a bunch of badass backcountry skiing, but it just kind of clicked. I don't know, it seemed to click with the TGR vibe, which also like wasn't a perfect fit, because, you know, finding like-minded skiers and snowboarders to work with was maybe a little tricky. So it's just, it's like, I feel like there's kind of like a bit of a format now, because it's been going on for a while, but onto like how you go about a season to like get shots and get stuff done. And I just like didn't have, I feel like then it was just like,
let's go ski.
And just kind of wing it. But I don't know.
But so you threw out, like, what was it, 2004 or 5 was the high five video that you said?
Yep.
So I was looking on Google, obviously, just to look up some more information of you, and you, like, Powder Awards nominee 2015. So how did we go from kind of a breakout year for you in 2004 to... Did you have, like, a bunch of segments throughout all? Or, like, I saw you had an injury where you were in a wheelchair in 2012. Maybe not a wheelchair, but I saw some sort of knee post on Instagram.
Well, after that first year filming with TGR and trying to film with level 1, so it would have been Shanghai 6 for level 1, and Tangerine Dream for TGR.
It's probably hurting your brain thinking this hard back.
Well, I can get that. It's the middle.
Gotcha.
It's in the middle that I'm not going to remember. But after that year, then I was just kind of committed to TGR.
Sick.
Yeah, and I just kind of went that direction. Vocal was already sponsoring TGR, so that was like a very
Just
seamless.
worked out,
Worked out. I got on North Face that first year, but that didn't continue. Ended up bruising my heel that same year too. That Shanghai 6 Tangerine Dream year, early season, but and then from then on it was just strictly TGR.
Every winter kind of getting clips or segment in TGR.
Yeah, just fully committed.
Dude, that's quite a bit of years
to try and produce as much as I could.
And what were 2-year parts weren't a thing back then, were they?
Mm-mm.
It was every year you had to do something.
Yeah.
I feel like that's so like 2020s kids who just like slack off for a year, go, all right, 2-year part.
Yeah. I feel like the only it might have been right in that same realm, but this was the snowboard world, but it was Community Project, I think was right in that same time frame. I think that was a 2-year project.
Gotcha.
But I hadn't.
But that was a crew.
Yeah, that was Travis.
Yeah.
That was Travis's first, like, I think solo or whatever, solo production. But yeah, after that was just trying to film parts for TGR, and then I think I fully dropped out of college.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Been there, done that.
Mm-hmm.
But so just every year producing parts, any crew, like one-of-a-kind trips or like most memorable trips you've had?
Man. I mean, they're all epic in their own way. We
just going to super remote places and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, we went and skied in Croatia and Macedonia, Montenegro. Just some, because TGR always likes to do like some wild, you know, where the skiing, you might get totally screwed on snow.
Yeah, but just like...
But you're like in Montenegro.
When it works out, yeah. And when it works out, it's an insane story.
Yeah. So there's, had a lot of amazing travel. And then like BC is just always epic because it's BC, like BC heli trips and BC sled trips.
And Alaska.
Yeah, I only did a small stint in Alaska, unfortunately, and ended up hurting my knee.
Was that around the 2012 one?
Yeah, that was probably it.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Is that like most seasons you went, like obviously everybody gets like somewhat injured in a season, just especially powder, tweaking knees and just landing, kneeing yourself in the face. Did you have any like crazy one, like other than the 2012 knee one, did you have any that like ruined the whole season?
That one ruined the whole season. I hit my head really bad, but that was at the end of that season. It was like springtime.
Hood stuff?
No. Getting close to Hood, but we were sledding in Guardsman's in up behind Park City and Salt Lake. Let's see. That bruised heel kind of lingered around. I always forget about that one, but that one kind of messed with me for a bit. But I was always pretty fortunate. I tried to do like the risk reward management thing like pretty well, and I don't know, I didn't, if I wasn't into it, I wasn't afraid to just not do it. I wasn't like pressured heavily by outside shit, you know.
It's more like just personal pressure on yourself, but obviously like understanding.
I think it's such like you got to be in such a good head state.
Yeah, totally.
That if you're not, that's like when you get hurt.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So you're trying to go do some rowdy shit.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I don't know. It's like, that's when you get fucked up.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I tried to be like pretty conscious of that, and I wasn't getting paid enough to like.
Gotcha.
Because you hear stories of like Red Bull dudes that are like, granted they're Red Bull dudes that are like top tier.
Yeah.
But they're like maybe doing some shit that they don't want to be doing.
You've heard stories like this where they're kind of like pushed into.
Well, I think just like it's just the state of that top tier.
We gotta keep pushing it.
Yeah, they're just making like they're getting paid a lot of money to be a Red Bull dude. And
it's like what's next?
Yeah, they're kind of like.
And today that line is up there.
Yeah,
it's insane. But yeah, I just wanted to get into that because there's just all these awards that you've got. Like, I just didn't know. Like, when I was looking you up, I was seeing obviously like the 2012, 2013, and obviously you have to have like a career a little bit before that to earn some stuff like that. So I just didn't know. So when you said 2004, I was like, holy shit, that's 11 years.
Yeah, and that 2004, that high five was like, it was my most proud segment at the time, but it was also like my first segment at the time where it took years to kind of make.
Did people really make edits back then? Like, or it was like, because I feel like nowadays you would see like a kid posting edits before you would ever have like a actual segment.
What do you mean, like on their own?
Like it would just be like buddies filming them at their resort before actually having like a segment of like, especially, I mean, I don't know for powder skiing, I guess if you chase powder, then you kind of just have a buddy with a long lens.
Yeah. Like kind of before they get noticed? Or maybe that's like how they get noticed? Yeah.
Because like you would see a kid be like, oh, I love this kid's style or like stuff, and it'd just be like a 2-minute edit on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then you start, like, he gets, like, he might have a ski sponsor, but then he gets involved with a crew or, like, a ski company making, like, a team edit, and then, like, his segment in that would go off type of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I feel like that probably started to happen more, like, as time went on.
Gotcha. Because we obviously didn't have YouTube and that stuff back then, so it was like...
I felt like that was what was super cool. Like, that's like... I first think of, like, Wallish.
Yeah.
I feel like that was, like, his story.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the Super Unknown, which is killer. And then, like, the other one that I think of is, like, Nick McNutt. He did, like... I think TGR put up this $100,000 prize for...
Video contest?
Yeah, I can't remember what it was called, but...
Dang.
McNutt ended up... I'd never heard of him, and
gotcha.
He got second, so he didn't win the money, but he did start filming with TGR.
Yeah, and like people obviously noticed him.
Yeah, and now he's been huge forever. It's cool.
Yeah, so I was just wanted to get into that.
Yeah, I think it was just. I mean, it's funny talk about like awards I won. I mean, it was like I'm psyched to have gotten those, but they're powder awards, so like best powder segment. Yeah. And I mean, as far as like awards, we just like went on a trip and scored. Yeah. Scored epic bow, which we're all trying to do. Yeah. And then we got an award out of it. Gotcha. So that was like pretty rad, pretty cool. Like getting the best powder award at the powder awards. Like
that was like I feel like just seeing like
it was a total bonus.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, sick. Like,
like the film's already like you're done. It's just like late. Yeah, no, I totally get that, and I think award things are kind of like I don't know how I feel about them because like when you look at like the Hollywood ones, it's kind of like just like patting each other on the back type of thing, but then like going to the New Schoolers ones a few years ago for like a do tour and stuff, and just like when your buddies get the award, it's like it's just like kind of a thing to celebrate, even though like the video's already out, so like basically everything's already happened, but then just to get like kind of the industry to like notify you is kind of like a sick feeling, I'm sure. Yeah, and
I think it was cool. Do they still do those? Do they still do?
I don't know if they did one last. I can't remember because it was always during like do tour the past like 3 or 4 years, but I don't think they did one last year. And now that Do Tour's gone, I don't know.
Yeah. It was cool. I'd only been to a couple of those Powder Awards. But yeah, I think it's exactly that, where it's just like a cool culmination of like the industry and the people, and just like acknowledging, you know, some people rag on them, and but it's also, you know, pretty fun, and kind of like puts a little bit of a label, a little bit of a stamp on something that, you know, everyone worked on.
Yeah, I mean, everybody works hard for their parts or segments or whatever, totally. And you don't know what happened that year with certain people, so it's just like the delayed gratification thing. I think is way cooler. Like, I feel like there was more of that then than there is now, because I feel like it's crazy. You like see a kid on a mountain, you might not see him land the trick, but like, you know, he did it that day, and it's on Instagram already, and then it's already like lost in the feed. Yeah. And it's just like, whenever I met Lupe and doing videos with him, and just like being part of a like first movie a couple years ago, and like you film it January, February, March, and then premiere it October, November, and just like the weight of like, oh, I've done this, I'm already doing my summer job, like we're about to start the next season, and then you go premiere a movie, and it's just like kind of the hype going to the next season, and just like that delayed gratification of like, I'm not instantly at like 100,000 likes or views type of thing. I mean, that's how it was, you know, back when we were filming, and there is something special about that. I wonder about that with just shots getting lost, and the significance, like everything is moving so fast, and you just see it's like nothing even surprises you anymore, one, because the talent is insane, but like epic, you know, whatever clip, skate clip, BMX clip, like that one I sent you, like, it's like, what is that rotation? And it's like, that thing's just gonna be gone. It's on someone's iPhone, and like everybody. I mean, maybe AI will be good for something like that, where you can just like dig up. Oh, true. But still, it's not gonna have any like. True. I don't know, like you put in like an old VHS. Yeah. And you watch like, I don't know, an old, like, what was the first ski movie that you watched that like you were like, oh, I want to do that, like your head exploded? I'm trying to think. It's crazy because I only started skiing at 14, which would have been like, exactly like 2000, like early 2000s, early 2010s type of thing. Yeah. And so like the Wallish Project was one of the first ones I can remember. I definitely remember a few like before that, but I can't think of the names off the top of my head. But like level 1 movies. Were those, they were still doing DVDs then? They were just starting to phase out? I definitely remember my first movies being like 1 or 2 of them being a DVD. Yeah. And then it was like the iTunes. Right. Bought it on iTunes, right. And then there was like all like the Solomon podcast stuff, or like video segment things on iTunes. It's kind of a bummer when you think about it, because there's a lot of good stuff, and probably be able to find it if you dig for it or want to pay for it again. Yeah. But it's a little bit of a bummer thinking about that kind of thing. Well, it's just wild because you see kids post on YouTube or on Instagram, and it's some insane trick, and it's just like, if they just film that horizontally, or like, because iPhones are insane, like you could film a horizontal segment, like a full video on an iPhone, but everybody does vertical. So it's like, if you just posted or got it horizontal and then put that with other clips, or just like took the time to get, like when we hit street, multiple angles is like the big thing, because you can just like a run-in shot, then like just to like shoot, like mess around to get other angles to like lengthen basically the spot, and just to like make it more well-rounded and stuff like that. Yeah. So it's just like, if kids took the time, like one of the best tricks I've done in a park was underflip onto just like a fat tube of Park City, and I'm just like, well shit, I'm kind of mad that I posted this as like a one clip that's gonna get lost, and like I every time I watch it, I'm like, dang, if I would have just done it horizontally and like put it in the like ender of a segment, and like it's shot vertical. Yeah, it's shot vertical, because it was just like, I spur of the moment, I was like, screw it, Derek, like I'm gonna try it. Yeah. So he was talking about Misty on, I was talking about underflip, and we were just like, let's do it. But just like every year I would put out an edit at the end of the year, and I was like, fuck, I wish I would have just saved it for that, because it's kind of annoying these days to watch someone's 5-minute like recap of the season, and it's like all the clips you've already seen of them on Instagram.
Yeah,
like singly shot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that anticipation of like going and seeing whoever your favorite person is at that point, to be like, you know, see what they've been working on, or to show what you've been working on, like, that's definitely a pretty special thing.
Yeah, because now it's like, oh, I filmed today, while my friend's driving down from the mountain, I'm putting 10 clips together in an edit to put on Instagram.
Yeah, I have noticed that with edits, where it's like, it's cool because it's a longer edit and it feels more like a movie, but it's like, oh, I've seen these. You showed me the ending shot already.
That
was the first shot you posted, was the ending shot. Like, what the fuck?
Exactly. And I don't really go on New Schoolers that much anymore, but like, I think one of the last times I went on, I just remember seeing a kid, I'm like, oh, I love watching this kid ski, and he had a like 4-minute video, and it's like, honestly, on New Schoolers, the longer the video, the more likely I'm going to click on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, there's all these filler shots, they're sick, like, I know he can do them, but the style is sweet, but then like, you're waiting for that ender, because I feel like that's just definitely you grew up, and I feel like maybe I'm the tail end of that, but just like, you're like waiting for the ender, and then you see the end, and it's like something you've seen on Instagram already, and it's just like, well, fuck, I watched all that to see something I've seen.
Well, now I'm just pissed.
Exactly. Exactly. Where can we go from here? Because, you got some Powder Awards nominee in 2015. I remember, just one of the things that I remember seeing on YouTube, or I think it was last summer or something, with Alex just sitting in the bar there.
Mm-hmm.
And you were just like, I did like a line backwards in was it Alaska or was it Canada?
No, the one that I skied switch.
Yeah.
That was in Slovakia.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
What year was that?
That would have been like 2007, 2008, I think.
Did you get nominated for anything or awards or anything for that?
No. They made that edit that we probably watched on YouTube.
Yeah.
TGR made that, and I think they made an edit about it, because every year, like at the premieres, there's always like
I remember you telling me
a certain shot that like everyone goes crazy for, and no one knows what the shot's going to be. And anyways, that was, for whatever reason, that year, like everyone got super fired up on that switch line.
It's insane, dude. If you guys want to look it up, Dylan Hood switch drop in.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to find. But yeah, that was Roner's idea. We had gone to Slovakia. We left Poland because they wouldn't let us ski out of bounds. Went to Slovakia. It was like Bluebird, epic face. We're like looking at it, trying to figure out what we want to ski, and nothing was really like popping out at me, and it was probably going to be like a one-line deal before the light got shitty or whatever.
Gotcha.
And I think Dash and Runner had already picked out some stuff that they wanted to do, and I was just like, I'm just like staring at this thing like, I don't know, like, and Runner was like, you should ski at Switch, and I was like, that could be cool.
I just remember you doing like a few turns at the top and then just nuking down it.
Well, I did those turns, and I remember like doing the turns and being like, well, this is pretty fucking lame. Like, I better do something here to make something cool happen. So I just pointed it and made it to the bottom. But
is that something you scope out for like a crevice, like? Because sometimes there's like a line across towards the bottom. Yeah,
we had a pretty good view. We didn't see anything like that, so
sick.
Yeah. I kind of knew it was
that's
pretty
not my
open.
territory,
Yeah.
so I just had no idea, because like some of those shots, when just the mountain being so steep and
Yeah.
people doing like threes off spines, you're like,
A lot of that stuff's AK.
gotcha.
Yeah. And it literally just like separates.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm just like, dude, if you're pointed switch and then all of a sudden saw that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I didn't probably do like a good enough inspection, but yeah.
Fucking worked out.
It works.
It's a sick clip. I remember last year you showing me that. So I was like, I had to bring it up. I didn't know what year it was, so I was like wondering if it was one of
That
the...
was a little tribute to Vincent Dorian and
Nice.
Degenerates.
Nice.
Some old heads will know what I'm talking about. But
So the whole time you're filming all these parts in the wintertime, started college, then obviously kind of gave that up to keep going with the skiing thing.
yeah.
What were you doing in the summers? Because I saw some old pictures of you fishing with Alex.
Yeah, so I would go out to Hood to ski in the summertime.
That's all park stuff?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, and I was coaching at Wendell's.
Sick.
Yeah, I
Sick.
coached there for 2 or 3 summers. I was living in Hood River, Parkdale area. Yeah, I was coaching a couple summers. I worked construction one summer. I painted houses for a couple summers.
Just kind of doing whatever to get some
Yeah,
money.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then obviously with the big, like TGR and them, they're paying for all the travel and stuff to go places for as far as the films and stuff.
Well, it's kind of like I imagine it works fairly similar today, but I'm not sure. But basically, it's like I kind of think of it as like a trifecta. So like your sponsors pay the athletes
Yep.
to represent them,
Yep.
and then sponsors pay the movies to show the athletes, and then the athletes and the cinematographers work together.
And go on film.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So it's like a trifecta deal.
Sweet.
So yeah, Vocal and Smith or whoever sponsor at the time, we'd get money to go do our thing
Gotcha. Yeah.
with TGR or whoever that like works out with, you know.
Sweet.
But yeah.
Any crazy trips with like just any years where there was just an insane budget or something?
Never
An insane one?
Never any insane budgets. But I got to do a couple competitions that were pretty cool. One was put on by Swatch down
Sick.
in Santiago.
Whoa.
They call it the Skiers Cup, and it was like Europe versus like the Americas. So like we had a team and they had a team.
Yep.
And then we like competed in like a few different kind of events, like a big mountain and then like a big mountain slope style, maybe just 2.
That sounds sick.
Yeah, and they put us up like in Santiago at like the sickest hotel.
Yeah. Because they sponsored the Nines. Swatch.
Okay, yeah. So that was pretty sick. That was pretty ballin'. We went to the coast twice and surfed the still wave, like the standing wave.
Oh yeah.
Like the super thin, like you're not on a surfboard, you're on like a skim board essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a pretty epic trip for sure. That was kind of like big budget. That wasn't
Sick.
on my account.
That's sick.
Yeah, and then some other like team trips that they just paid for us to go to like Baldface, and yeah, it's pretty grateful for all of it.
Sick.
Good times.
So then obviously working and being in Hood River in the summers, you picked up surfing?
Yeah, I learned how to surf growing up on the East Coast.
Really?
Yeah.
Up in the north, is there many waves?
There can be.
I guess in the north.
Yeah, in the south, like the whole coast. It's just a matter of swell.
Where you go.
It's just a matter of like swell. They just don't get the swell like we get out here. So they have amazing spots. It's just a matter of like there being waves.
All right.
So it's like hurricane and winter seasons out there, but yeah, it was coaching skiing, and I remember like putting my ski boots on one hot ass summer day, going up to coach kids and being like, what am I doing putting ski, like I need to go to the beach.
Yeah.
Like I remember just being like so tapped out because I was skiing all winter and trying to film, and then coaching all summer. It's a lot of days in ski boots and just being like, what am I doing? So I drove out to the beach and fell back.
With guys from Dells just
love.
come out between sessions and stuff like that. Like that's kind of what kids do these days that coach and stuff up there.
Yeah, totally.
Gotcha.
And then just kind of fell in love with the ocean and surfing again, and then fell in love with this area, and then eventually moved out here kind of full time.
Were you still in your ski days, like when you moved out here, or like sick?
Yeah. So I was living out here and still skiing for probably like 10 or 11 years or something.
Do you know what year your last like segment was?
I don't know, but it wasn't good.
When did you kind of got to a certain age where you're just like, what bring, like, I don't know, some people I feel like just keep going with skiing there, like, because it's hard to make a full living off of skiing.
Yeah.
Like even now, even then.
Yeah. I mean, one, I wasn't making like crazy money by any means. Yeah. And two, I think I just kind of, I got burnt out. I've always snowboarded on the side my whole life.
I mean, you snowboard more now, right?
Yeah. I think last season I was like 50-50, but I've always snowboarded on the side because it's just been like, I just love it.
Yeah.
And it's such a nice balance to skiing.
Yeah, and since you surf.
Yeah, and it's just like...
chasing powder.
Skiing's kind of like fast, fall line, and snowboarding is like slow.
Yeah.
Cross hill, like kind of surfy, skatey. So I always loved like the juxtaposition between the two.
Sweet.
I would like, be skiing and be like, all I want to do is snowboard, and then I'd like take 2 days of snowboarding and be like, I suck at snowboarding, I just want to ski, so it would like get me excited to ski again,
Yeah.
But I think by the end of it, I just wanted to snowboard, and I just wasn't into it like mentally, skiing, and like we were chatting about this before, but like, if you're filming for ski movies, you're trying to do cool shit.
Yeah.
And if your head isn't like, I'm going to stomp the shit out of this, that's like when you get hurt. And so I just kind of like, I wasn't in that headspace, and it felt like I was kind of forcing it, and it was just like, I kind of felt like pretty stagnant, where snowboarding like made me feel like I was 10 years old again, and just like, I felt like old on skis, and I felt super young when I was snowboarding, and I just like was like reinvigorated on the mountain, where skiing just felt kind of old and stale to me.
And just like having to do something new is that like, it's just in like pushing yourself far, and it's just like, if it's not, I don't know, I always battled that like in my head, because I never made a lot of money skiing. Like a few things would happen here and there in the seasons, but like recently with the foot injury and like first winter completely off, and it's just like a weird year for me where I actually snowboarded way more than I skied just because of the boots. And just like, it's like when you're not making an insane amount or like enough money to like have a savings or like support yourself even really to like push yourself, like you have some good years and then all of a sudden you're just like, all right, I'm at these tricks and I need to one up myself, and it's just like, well, I'm still working like a tedious manual labor job in the summer, so like if I fuck myself and then I ruin my whole income for the summer, like even if I'm healthy the following year, it's going to be like a tough situation.
I think a lot of it, I mean, the injury was definitely like a big part of it, and it wasn't exciting me.
Gotcha.
And just like, and I've learned this as I've gotten older, but I kind of like new feelings and like things that, I don't know, are exciting and maybe challenging, and like, yeah, it's fun. It makes me feel young again, and then like I didn't ski for, I don't know, however many years. I mean, I'd ski a couple days here and there, and then like last season we didn't have a lot of snow early season, and so I was skiing a bunch, and I was just like loving it.
Yeah.
And it completely flipped back the other way, where snowboarding I felt old, and
Gotcha.
skiing I'm like, oh, I know how to do this. Like, this is fun, you know? And it was like, I don't know, I enjoy just, I don't know, it's good to be excited about things, and if I'm not excited, I kind of try to look elsewhere.
But like, how did like I mean, if you don't want to fully, or like, I don't know if you've actually fully thought about it, but like going, because obviously you got some powder awards, so like some notoriety in the industry and stuff like that. Was it kind of you one summer, or like going into a winter of just like, I don't really want to film, or like guys hitting you up like, yo, are you ready for the season? And you're just like, like,
I always, or like,
where did it like kind of fall off for you?
I always kind of knew, I don't know, that sounds so stupid to say that, but I feel like I always in my gut like knew that I wasn't going to be like a like career athlete, like a career skier, like, and I also
like a personality or someone who's made enough to like, this is all I need to do in skiing.
I always kind of knew that I was going to like hang it up and do something else. I also never wanted to be the guy that was like hanging on to his career, and you could like see it. So I always kind of knew I was gonna do something else, and then I started to feel the burnout and just like the monotony, and wanting to snowboard, like, and kind of had an exit plan, and I don't know, did we ever talk about this? My exit plan, it took me like 2 years to kind of figure it out, because I knew I was getting over it, but I applied and got in to a commercial diving school up in Seattle. So I was like, that's sick. I was like going, like I was, Christine and I, she was my girlfriend at the time, my wife now. I was going to school, and rent's super hard to find, so Christine was going to fly out, and we were going to drive up there and rent a room and just like look around for places. Like, I was going to school in like a month, and I got a letter in the mail, and they had already accepted me. I got the whole exception, and they were waiting on some, they had to like do like an injury report, like, have you had any previous injuries? And I said, I had this one. They're like, all right, we need the paperwork. So that head injury I had told you about, I got really lucky, and it could have been really, really bad. I hit my head on a tree like midair.
Dang. Helmet?
No.
Gotcha.
No, I was like knocked out for like 5 minutes, and anyways, got really, really lucky. Anyways, they got that report back, and we're like, I think I'm going to this school. Christine and I are about to move up there. Yeah. And they're like, we can't accept you because of this head injury, because of the pressure.
Oh, gotcha.
And I was like, can I get a second opinion? And they're just like, nope. And that was it.
It was like, because I mean, this is obviously like 2015, 2016.
Yeah, it might have been
with head injuries.
That 14.
Dang, what was the like?
The reasoning?
Yeah, just like
the pressure. Like, I had like a small blood leak in my
your brain. Gotcha. All right.
And so just being underwater.
I didn't know what
heavy pressure.
What with the head injury.
Yeah, they were just like, they wanted nothing to do with it, because I was
just the safety
essentially
aspect.
liable.
Yeah.
You know, so. And I was like super bummed. And I think, I told this story before, but I had written all my sponsors like, thank you so much for all the support, all the years.
Yeah.
You know, I had them written out. I just hadn't sent them because I'm
Formal.
procrastinating, you know?
Yeah.
And so I get this letter saying that I'm not going to this school.
Jeez.
And I'm like pretty bummed, really bummed. I was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, if you thought
And,
that
like,
was the direction you were
The
going.
next day, I like get on the computer, write my sponsors. I'm like super fired up for the year. Gonna need more budget. Like, gonna be the best year ever. And then I just like and then I just snowboarded for like 2 seasons,
Gotcha.
and then got 2 bonus trips that I was skiing on. One was to India, and one was to
Damn.
two different huts in outside of Golden in BC. So
Wow.
I milked those 2 trips, but
You obviously got some ski clips.
yeah, they're pretty bad. They're pretty poor.
Gotcha.
Not proud of those, but had an epic season. And yeah, so that was like my exit plan,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Got flipped on, like all up in the
yeah,
air.
so then I rode out. I think maybe one more winter as a pro skier. All my sponsors thought I was skiing, and I definitely was not. I was just snowboarding Jackson every day.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I went down to like film outside of Jackson where we'd go sledding, and I didn't even bring my skis. Like, I showed up at the trailhead, and it's like, I just brought my snowboard. But yeah, anyways, I guess thought I was moving to Seattle to go to school to be a commercial diver, and then bumped into a buddy here who I'd worked for before, and he's like, well, I'm putting together a crew building houses, like, would love to have you on the crew. It was Dustin.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
Sick.
And I was kind of like, well, I know I love it here, and
Yeah.
like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but that'll work.
Yeah.
So after that season, I got my commercial license, and yeah, got on a crew with those guys, and yeah, built some houses.
Sick.
Yeah. So that was how my exit plan happened.
That's great. That's a crazy story.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. Got a couple.
So then
bonuses.
obviously after that one winter, you actually sent those emails that you... Did you formally... You never sent those?
I didn't. I felt bad too, but I still want to send some out just because there's a lot of good people that supported me over the years, and
Yeah.
I think the reason I didn't was because
You kind of just didn't know.
well, internally, like, the whole company was going through a bunch of shit.
Gotcha.
And like
Gotcha.
people left, and the thing was like seemed to be falling apart a little bit.
Yeah.
But I do feel a little bad about that. I need to reach out.
There's
to a
definitely an
couple
era of skiing where like whole companies like were funding so much money for teams and all this, and then just like Orage I can think of, just like all of a sudden like, nope, we don't have any team whatsoever, and then like 3 years later they reboot everything, or like
Yeah.
2 years later or something like that.
Yeah, it's wild how companies jump in and out of shit.
Yeah. Well, dang.
Yeah.
I don't know. Now that you're working on the coast,
Yep.
just finished skiing, basically. Obviously surfing a whole bunch. I saw some old videos of you doing moto. With your, it was something with your brothers. Were you guys in Hood River or something? You had
Yeah,
an
we did.
orange KTM, it looked like.
Yeah. I think I actually borrowed Chris's YZ250,
Gotcha.
but we did a camping Mount Adams trip.
Gotcha. Oh,
Yeah.
sick.
Yeah,
Sick.
yeah. Did like a big tour, and yeah, I had a little YZ125 when I lived in Hood River. My
Gotcha.
older brother.
Did you know Blair and Alex then?
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep. And I think Alex wasn't riding nearly as much. Like, he was, when Alex and I met, I think he was kind of past a bit of his
Gotcha. All right.
racing days.
Yeah.
But he still would ride every once in a while. But, and then my oldest brother, well, both my brothers ride, but my oldest brother, Taylor, was always riding up there in trails. And so I would just kind of tag along with him. And I always loved it. But I just didn't like get crazy into it. And then I was always driving out here to go surfing.
Yeah.
So I always loved it and like kind of knew how to ride, but just never like
It's a gnarly sport.
really got
And then compared to surfing.
super into it. But yeah, that's been super fun riding.
Yeah, because we kind of do that together now.
Mm-hmm.
Build some mountain bike trails with you
Yeah.
on your property.
Yeah.
But like what, like, because you were into skiing, picked up surfing obviously out, I mean, you did on the East Coast and
Got
then
back
continued
into
it out here.
Yep.
I mean, I know you had some pictures with Roner.
Yep.
Was he a part of the Nitro Circus guys at that point, or was
He wasn't. He was a TGR dude.
Gotcha.
And then, so I knew him before he got in with those guys.
Gotcha.
And then
I didn't know if that kind of sparked your moto or anything.
No, it was pretty much my brother's.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I like learned how to ride, dirt bikes back east, New Hampshire.
Sick. 'Cause that's all stuff I never did until I was old. Like, I did all the regular sports. That was like what my parents pushed, and like, I had to like go out of my way to try and find all the action sports. And obviously, like, I've stuck to all of them now.
Yeah.
But it's just like something that my parents
But
were like,
you
that's
found-
weird.
Didn't you? But you found dirt biking back home.
Like, I raced a couple years on a little motorcycle, but it was just once I started like racing a few times, it was just like, oh, this is a really expensive, dangerous sport.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
not do that.
Yeah.
And then I went back to hockey,
Nice.
and then I didn't get another dirt bike until I was 15,
Yeah.
and I had it for like a year, and then blew it up, and it's the one I have now. But
The YZ.
YZ 125, yeah,
Nice.
I had it for like a year.
Yeah.
I think I annoyed my parents for like a whole year of just like, because I think we had a little dirt bike. I had a little like 50cc that I raced, maybe 65, and then they kind of sold it because they're like, yeah, this is dangerous and it's an expensive thing.
Yeah.
And then they were like, well, I think we sold that and got like a TTR 90, which is like no clutch or anything.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, this will do. I get like,
Yeah.
it's fun, kept me going.
Yeah.
And then I got just to the point where I was like, just flat tires every couple times riding it because I was just too big for it.
Yeah.
And then, so I think a couple years went by and I was just like, this was something I could do at our cabin. Like, we don't have anything now. Like, can we get another bike type of thing? And my grandmother got me one.
Yeah. And now you're going back to Washougal.
Yeah, I going to Washougal tomorrow.
Sick.
But it's just like, yeah, I feel like with COVID kind of happening and the resorts getting shut down, that's kind of what got me back into moto. Because I had a dirt bike and like you could just go into the woods. I was working for Blair at the sawmill and I was just finding trails and going.
You were at the mill during
Yeah.
COVID? For some of it?
Yes, I left Salt Lake when it happened to come out here to surf, and then the coast was all shut down. And so I was obviously going to work for Blair that summer, but like I came out early because of all the ski resorts getting shut down.
Yeah.
And then I think I went straight up to the mill
Yeah.
and just rode a bunch up there.
Yeah.
But like I know what you mean whenever you're saying like snowboarding was kind of like you felt young doing it. Like
Yeah.
all the years I've watched motocross, and then like I like basically had a dirt bike right as COVID just coincidentally,
Yeah.
and then everything got shut down for skiing, and I'm like, well, shit, there's all these moto tracks around. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, whoa,
Freedom,
shit,
baby.
Yeah, I kind of had just like the government checks from Trump or whatever,
Yeah.
and I had like some other money just working for Blair a bunch.
Sick.
I was like, well, like I kind of have my own money, and my parents can't tell me what to do with it, so I'm like gonna start racing again.
Heck yeah. Yeah, and then you just went ham, and
Yeah.
now you got a dirt bike museum.
Yeah. Yeah. I had nothing to do this winter. Injured foot.
Yeah.
It was the least I've skied my entire life since I started skiing. And I think I got 14 days snowboarding. Maybe a little less. And it's like I started out snowboarding and then switched to skiing. And so like I haven't touched a snowboard in so long, but just the boots.
I don't even think I saw your setup.
My board.
Yeah.
I was just using the rental shop that I was working for
nice.
as board.
Gotcha.
I don't have a board.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was fun because it was just like something new, and my foot didn't hurt being in the plastic boot, but it was just weird. Like I'm like kind of looking forward to getting back into ski boots this
Yeah.
year, just with my foot feeling better.
Yeah.
But it's just like the weird thing of like urban skiing is so gnarly, and it's
Yeah,
just
dude.
like, I don't know, you're getting to that age, and I'm just like, I always tell myself I'm young, and it's like you're still racing dirt bikes, and I'm like, I need to get a go-kart. I need to get something with a roll cage.
Yeah, just a turn track.
Yeah, just something lower to the ground.
Yeah. Need some grass carts.
Because it's definitely big, and like this is definitely was my first real big injury. Like hurt an arm or like something like never a fully broken arm, but just like something where you sit for a couple weeks,
Yeah.
or like your knee's bugging you, so you don't do anything for a week or two. But like
Yeah.
nothing that's like 3 months before you can walk
Yeah.
and stuff like that. It's definitely like wild, especially now to like understand it at my age, like
How old are you?
27.
Yeah.
About to be 28.
Yeah.
But just like I feel like the kids I grew up like, broke their foot, like in 4 weeks they're doing dumb shit again. But it's like I also folded my whole foot, like it was definitely gnarly.
Yeah.
So it's just like I didn't think like, oh, just a foot injury. I didn't think it'd be like that big of a thing, but it's definitely taken longer than I thought. I mean, tomorrow or this weekend is 1 year since the last
It is?
Yeah, this is
Oh,
the race.
this is the race?
This is the race.
Well, yeah. You'll know once you get on that thing.
Yeah. No, it'll be fun. I'm gonna take it easy doing vintage racing.
Nice.
Old dirt bikes. That's the best part.
Nice.
You're racing 50-year-olds.
Nice. Heck yeah.
But a few final points.
Yeah.
I mean, at the beginning before we started recording here, you said something about you don't really follow the most current stuff, but I'm sure you still like check in with X Games here and there. Or...
Yeah, I try to, I'm definitely still a kid in the sense of like, I love watching edits. And,
Yeah.
There's definitely like the art side of it too, just like how it's presented with what music and
Yeah.
the whole vibe. I love that shit. So I definitely am always kind of like trying to dig around and see what kids I like, their style, and
What do you think of what kids wear today?
There's some kids who definitely have it dialed, and there's some definite like goof troop squad going on.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like I know stuff trends and whatever, but some of it I just like don't understand.
What specifically? Like the parachute pants that are like baggy but like paper thin, so it's just like
Yeah, and then like that with like it like sitting high with like a short t-shirt and
Gotcha.
like like a helmet that's half hanging off with like sunglasses and you're just like what, and like big mittens and no poles. You're just like, what is going on? But then you see some kids like, I'm of the era of like Mikel Deschanel and
like a proper baggy.
like
Gotcha.
Candide bag.
Yeah.
Like, proper, like
It's all proportional.
yeah, totally. It's just like
How hard does it like make you cringe if you see a PAL segment with no poles?
the no poles thing is funny. I did some years of no poles and proud of some of it, not proud of some other ones, but I could care less what if people use poles or not, but
If it looks good or not.
totally.
Gotcha. Because there's definitely a few guys like Metadali to me. Some
Yeah.
like there are definitely some shots where you're like but
Yep.
some of his shots you're just like like I didn't even almost notice
Yeah.
that he didn't have poles.
Yeah, I mean it's, I've always kind of thought this, but it's like it's not what it is, it's how it looks.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like look at like Casabon.
Yeah.
You're just like,
Yeah.
he looks sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it just depends. Like some people have like a square, boxier style,
Yeah.
and then obviously like how you wear your clothes is gonna change that. I tend to have more of like an upright, like skis a little bit closer together, which isn't really conducive for no poles.
Yeah, gotcha.
Especially skiing forward, but I did a lot of the stuff I did when I did no poles was I would only land backwards. If I was ever going to land forward, I would use my poles.
Gotcha.
For kind of the exact reason that I'm talking about.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But I was doing so much like landing backwards stuff. It was like I don't need these.
Yeah.
And like the feeling of like dragging your hands like that. It was just
Yeah.
like I don't know. It was just like a bit more freedom. But yeah, I mean, there's some kids that make it look good and some that don't.
Some hot takes with Dylan.
Yeah.
Did you
trends are funny?
do you know who Magnus Graner? I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Like the swerve skiing that came about like
Oh yeah,
3 or 4 years ago.
Yep.
That's like, what did you think whenever that started?
I liked some of that stuff for sure.
Some of the people that are really good at it, I think I enjoy watching.
I did like that stuff. Yeah, I thought some of that stuff was really cool. It's wild. It was just like
to move skis like that.
Yeah, and to just I don't know. I thought some of that stuff was really cool. Sometimes when it's like too much, sometimes it could be like exaggerated or like a little too much. But,
yeah, or like you could tell they were trying a trick and then just shuffled it out because it was like a little bit of a botched landing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there was definitely some cool stuff.
Did you ever get into hitting urban?
When I was young, like still on the East Coast, but once I think I hit like a couple rails in Bozeman when I was there, but
nice.
At that point it was just like I just wanted
powder.
To be in the mountains.
Yeah.
And just kind of like you were just talking about, it's just like I don't know, you get a little older, and you're just like, this hurts, man. Like you're talking about risk versus reward, or just like risk management, like throwing yourself down a bunch of stairs with concrete and shit around. It's like your probability goes up a lot.
Yeah. No, totally. That's a mental battle.
But I like watching some of that stuff. I like the high speed stuff, and I like the bigger street skiing stuff.
And just like the creative, some people you'd take them to a spot and they would just hit it like a park feature, and then some other people they have like jump over this rail to get to this one. Like,
yeah,
it was hard for me to get into that whenever
some of that stuff's a little too much.
Yeah,
like simple, big. It's more my style.
Nice.
Switch to switch.
Down a big gnarly down rail.
Sure, yeah.
Sick. Well, damn, how far are we into this?
Any more brain busters?
Hour and a half, hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, no, I'm glad I got this done. I've been thinking about it for over a year. And just, shooting your name around to people that I hang out with that are older than me. I was just like, fuck. I just missed that, like, your era of skiing, I feel like. Because, like, when I first started, it was, like, only, like, street and park edits.
Yeah.
And just with you being powder, I feel like I missed it.
Yeah.
But then to like meet you and then we go surfing and then building mountain bike trails together at your house, it's just like...
Well, and there's also like, certain... I don't know, just like what kids are drawn to and maybe not... Like there's like kind of what we were talking about, like an athlete-based movie, or a segment-based movie, and then like more of like a team trip. Sometimes shots can get like lost in the mix, and like I've had a couple years where because the format of the movie was a certain way, my shots only fit in certain segments. And then I had like a bunch of shots that I was really proud of that didn't even make the movie just because they didn't fit into like those segments. Yeah. And that's like pretty disappointing when you put all this time and energy and They just don't
Make
make the movie, and you know, there's like a whole art side of it that's
It's got to fill.
yeah,
Gotcha.
and everyone's got their own artistic.
Yeah. How much communication did you have with like guys when they'd make the movie? Were you kind of just like off in the summers working, so you didn't really like?
I went out and edited a few times with them,
sick.
but it was one of those things that like my first years, I'm like low guy on the totem pole because they're just happy to be there, and then as anyone gets more shots and more established, then you can have like more say, you know.
Yeah.
If you have like a bunch of shots, then they're gonna let you have a little more reign on editing, which is always nice. But
Yeah.
creatively, it's always like everyone's got different ideas of what they want, and
Yeah.
So.
And song choice, and if it's possible to have the song,
dude,
the rights for songs.
that is like you could have the most you could have the most epic footage. I'm not saying this is my case, but I'm just saying in general, like music and editing is so important, right?
Yeah.
You could have like
100%.
the most epic footage and you put it edited poorly to bad music,
Yeah.
and it's like you could forget it like that.
Yeah.
And then you put like mediocre footage like I would produce to some good songs, and but yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, sick.
yeah,
We can end it there. I'm
Thanks,
stoked
dude.
to get this one in the books.
yeah. Thanks,
Episode
man.
10.
Good reminiscing. We got to go skiing.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, that's crazy. We've done a lot of other things other
Yeah.
than skiing together. Or we could snowboard.
Yep. Let's do both.
Sick.
Right on.